She accidentally texts a billionaire her pregnancy test. The shocking help that follows. The sun had barely risen over the sleepy town of Cedar Grove when Jenna's heart raced in a way she hadn't experienced in years. A text message, sent in a moment of panic, had spiraled her life into chaos. What if he actually responds? She thought, her fingers trembling as they hovered over her phone. The fateful message was a simple photo of a pregnancy test, two pink lines stark against the white plastic. She never meant to send it to him, a billionaire entrepreneur who lived worlds apart from her own quiet life. But one wrong tap, and now she just might be spiraling into a whirlwind she couldn't control. Jenna had always been the suspicious type, especially about messages that seemed too good to be true. But sending that text felt like a roll of the dice. The thought of a billionaire, a man shrouded in mystery and fortune, seeing her vulnerability twisted her stomach. She could picture him, cocooned in his lavish mansion, the sea of luxury surrounding him, probably too grand to comprehend her dilemma. Would he ignore it? Laugh it off? Or worse, what if he felt compelled to respond? The town buzzed in daily rhythms around her, oblivious to the storm brewing in her heart. As she walked past the local cafe, the scent of strong coffee wafted through the air, tearing her from her spiraling thoughts. A few regulars glanced at her, eyebrows raised, and whispers floated by. What's wrong with her? One lady murmured, casting furtive glances. Jenna's chest tightened. They can't know, she thought, panic rising like bile. The sensation was palpable, the weight of her secret feeling like a lead balloon in her gut. Then, the screen lit up. The name flash drew her in like a moth to flame. Can we talk? It felt electrifying, shocking. Her breath caught in her throat. Did he really want to talk about this? Suddenly the air felt heavier, thick with questions and uncertainty. Did he even understand what would come next? The connections they would have to navigate? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back in her small one-bedroom apartment, Jenna paced the floor, feeling the heat rise in her cheeks. Questions swarmed her mind like bees in a hive. What if he wanted to help? And what if she fell for him? After all, how could someone like her ever connect with someone like him? There was so much at stake. Suddenly, the thought of pushing send on a response felt like diving off a cliff. She needed to know what he was thinking. Then another buzz broke through her spiraling thoughts. I can help. Those four simple words hung in the air like a bitter fruit. Help? How could he possibly help? Was this all a twisted joke? Jenna's fingers hovered over her phone again, shaking with the weight of indecision. Would she break her silence, or would fear grip her too tightly? The world outside continued to spin, and she stood frozen, pondering the mystery that lay ahead. With her heart pounding like a drum, Jenna's eyes fixated on the glowing screen. I can help. The words clawed at her mind, mixing desperation and hope. What kind of help could a billionaire possibly offer? Was he sincere, or was this just another rich man playing games with her life? Taking a deep breath to steady herself, she finally typed back, how? It felt like stepping into uncharted waters, each push of the keys a plunge deeper into a sea of uncertainty. Before she could regret her decision, she hit send and immediately felt the heat rise in her cheeks. What was she doing? In the minutes that followed, she paced around her cramped living space. The walls felt as if they were closing in on her, the shadows growing taller with each deployment of anxiety that surged through her veins. Every tick of the clock echoed in her ears, creating a symphony of tension. She half expected the floorboards to creak and conform to her chaotic thoughts, but they remained silent, an eerie testament to her paranoia. Her phone buzzed again, jarring her out of her troubled thoughts. "Meet me at Café Bella in an hour. We need to talk face to face." Jenna's stomach dropped, the sudden clarity of his request sending shockwaves through her. She felt like she was being pulled into a black hole, the gravitational pressure mounting as the implications of her choice crested over her like a tidal wave. Café Bella was a well-known spot, bustling with chatter and life. But it was truly the last place she wanted to find herself right now. The lively atmosphere would only amplify her nerves. Images of him filled her mind, tall, imposing, with that irresistible billionaire charm that could melt anyone. What if he was a condescending jerk? Or worse, what if he was incredibly charming and swept her off her feet? Jenna shook her head, feeling a sudden surge of rebellion. No, she couldn't let herself go there. Dressing in her most comfortable jeans and a simple blouse, Jenna jumped at every passing car while she waited for the bus. The air felt heavier, pressure was mounting in her chest. What was I thinking? She muttered under her breath, trying to drown out the whirlwind of possibilities. When the bus finally arrived, it was packed. She squeezed into a corner, desperately trying to push thoughts of him away. But he lingered there like a ghost, haunting her with every twist and turn of the bus. How would this man, with all his money and power, cope with her reality? Arriving at the cafe, Jenna's heartbeat reached a frenetic pace. The aroma of coffee assaulted her senses, a stark contrast to the brewing storm within her. She scanned the room nervously, spotting a figure at a corner table. He was striking, dressed sharply, every inch the billionaire. She didn't even need to see his face to know it was him. She didn't know how to approach this. Her legs felt heavy, and her fingers trembled as she threw her purse over her shoulder and walked toward him. His body language was confident, relaxed, as if he belonged to that world effortlessly. "Jenna," he said, looking directly into her eyes. "I'm glad you came." His voice was smooth but carried an intensity that sent chills down her spine. "What do you want?" The words slipped out before she could stop them. He smiled, but there was something lurking in his gaze, something just beneath the surface that made her gut twist. "I want to help you navigate what's to come. But first, we need to be honest with each other. What could he possibly want from her?" The nerves shot through her like lightning, and she braced herself, knowing she was teetering on the edge of a cliff. The depths below were unknown and dangerous. As he leaned closer, the weight of his presence was undeniable, and Jenna felt the world around them fade. "But first," he continued, his voice dropping to a low whisper, "you need to understand how deep this goes." Jenna's heart raced as dread washed over her. What could he mean? And did she really want to know? As uncertainty loomed, she steeled herself for whatever was about to unfold, knowing it could change everything in ways she couldn't imagine. The air between them pulsed with tension. Jenna's palms felt clammy against the table, and she fought the urge to pull back, to escape the storm brewing in this seemingly innocent cafe. "How deep?" she choked out, hoping to keep her voice steady. His smile faded, replaced by a seriousness that cut through the light ambience around them. "Before I explain, you need to know something crucial." He paused, scanning the cafe, as if checking for prying ears, even though their corner felt like a world apart from the bustling sounds around them. "This isn't just about money or charity. It's about power, my power to affect change and the dangerous forces that challenge that power." Her heart raced. Jenna felt like she had just stepped into a shadowy thriller, where stakes were life and death, but she could hardly piece together the puzzle. "What do you mean?" she whispered, desperation bleeding through. "I have enemies, Jenna. Powerful ones. People who play the game differently, people who play for blood." His eyes bore into hers. "You got dragged into this without knowing, and I suspect it has everything to do with what you've been through, the things you're hiding." A lump rose in her throat. How could he possibly know anything about her life? She hadn't told anyone about her struggles, her fears, her pain. "You don't know me," she protested, the words coming out more fiercely than she intended. He leaned back, his features softening just a fraction. "But I do. I know more than you think. You're at a crossroads, Jenna. And if you don't start making the right decisions, it could cost you everything." Fear slithered down her spine, constricting around her. "What kind of decisions?" "First, you need to trust me." His voice wrapped around her like a velvet rope, but Jenna didn't want to be tied to this man. Not his world. "You have a choice, but the clock is ticking." The urgency in his tone grated against her instincts to run. "I'd be a fool to trust you." She pulled back slightly, refusing to meet his gaze, but he didn't back down. "Perhaps. But it's either that, or watch everything you've worked for crumble. They won't just leave you alone, Jenna. They'll come for you if you're not smart about this." Jenna's breath caught. "Who will?" "I can't give you names yet, that would put both of us in danger." He glanced around again, as if the walls had ears. "But if you don't want to be a pawn in this game anymore, you need to listen to me." Her mind raced, spiraling down paths she never wanted to walk. This was how her day was supposed to go. Help meant safety, not danger. "What do you want in return?" She pressed, her voice steadying. Another smile flickered across his face, yet it felt more predatory than reassuring. "I need your cooperation. Whatever comes next, you must be willing to stand by my side." She shivered at how easily a stranger could pull her into his shadows. "Why me? There are people with far more to offer." "Why not them?" "Because, Jenna, you're the key." His voice dropped to a fervent whisper. "You have something they want, and it's our leverage." A chill weaved through her veins, making her skin crawl. "What do you mean?" For a moment, his gaze softened again, almost like he understood the weight of his words. "It's not just about money, it's about safeguarding your life. The deeper you go, the more dangerous it becomes. But I promise you, we can turn it to our advantage if you trust me." Jenna's heart pounded against her ribcage. She felt the world fracture around her, splintering into impossibilities. What did she have that could be so valuable, yet perilous? "Meet me tomorrow night. I'll explain everything." He leaned back, studying her reaction, his confidence unwavering. "But this is your last chance to opt out, Jenna." As she weighed her choices, a sense of foreboding settled over her like a dark cloud ready to burst. What lay ahead could be just as dangerous as it was enticing. With a fleeting glance, he signaled the waiter. "Think it over," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Because the game begins now." With that, Jenna felt the walls around her close in again. What choice could she make that wouldn't lead to ruin? And what was it that made her so important to him and his dangerous world? Tomorrow, she would either step into the shadows or walk away forever. But first, she had to confront a truth she was not ready for. Would the reality of her decision haunt her even more than the uncertainty? Jenna left the cafe, the air outside hitting her like a cold slap. The world seemed louder, more chaotic. Cars honked, pedestrians talked, a siren wailed in the distance. She felt as if she was in a bubble, her feet moving while her mind raced. What had just happened? The invite, the promises, the threat, everything crashed over her like a tidal wave. A million questions swirled in her head. What had he meant about being the key? Could she really trust this stranger who seemed to know more about her than she did? Each step away from the cafe felt burdensome, as if the heavy weight of uncertainty hung on her shoulders. Her phone buzzed, jolting her back to reality. Glancing down, she saw a string of messages from her best friend, Mia. "Hey! You there? Where do you run off to?" followed by emojis that screamed concern. She hesitated, her thumb hovering over the screen. Should she mention anything? Could she even articulate what just happened? No, she had to keep this to herself for now. Texting back was hard. The usual banter felt insignificant against the dark weight pressing on her chest. Sorry, just had a meeting. I'll call you later, she typed, sending it off with a quick tap. Then, as if the universe was toying with her, another push from deep within. What if she had reached out to Mia? What would she say? I was just approached by a mysterious man who wants to drag me into some shadowy world of power games. It sounded ridiculous, even to her. She turned the corner and headed towards home, her sanctuary. As she walked through her front door, an unsettling feeling crept in. It was quiet. Too quiet. She always found comfort within these walls, but now they felt like a trap. The shadows loomed large, and the familiar vase of flowers on the table looked like they were wilting because of something far more sinister lurking just outside her vision. She dropped her bag on the couch and made her way to the kitchen. The kettle whistled, but she barely registered it. Her mind was racing. Should she keep her appointment? Was she ready to dive into a darkness she barely understood? And what would it mean for her life as she knew it? The phone buzzed again, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. Jenna. Call me. I need to hear your voice. She sighed. Another text from Mia. The warmth of friendship was still there, but the heaviness of secrecy loomed over her like a dark cloud. Jenna poured her tea, the steam curling up like tendrils of her anxiety. She took a sip, wincing at how hot it was. Her mind raced back to the man in the cafe. His gaze, the confidence he exuded, was that what it was? Confidence? Or just arrogance cloaked in danger? The rest of the room faded as she recalled his steely stare and the promise of power that came with it. She glanced at the clock, already it was growing late. Tomorrow felt like an eternity away, and she needed to decide. Would she walk into the light of knowledge or blindfold herself, hoping everything would just go away? Suddenly, a loud knock rattled her door, making her jump. Heart racing, she froze. Who was it? The visitor didn't wait for an answer. The door swung open, revealing a dark figure silhouetted against the light of the hall. Jenna. It was Mia, eyes wide with concern. What is going on? You look like you've seen a ghost. As Mia rushed in, Jenna felt the weight of her secrets pressing down again. Before she could speak, her heart thudded at the realization that she was about to be pulled further into a reality she did not want to face. She had choices to make, and they wouldn't come without consequences. Jenna, what's wrong? Mia's voice snapped her back. The urgency was palpable, but Jenna didn't know if she could let anyone into this tangled web yet, and then, before she could form the words, another knock echoed through the room, a far more insistent one. Jenna's stomach dropped. They were not alone. Who's at the door? Mia asked, glancing toward it, confusion wrinkled on her brow. Please, just stay back, Jenna whispered, her heart pounding in her chest as the figure outside shifted. Slightly. Would it be the man from the cafe? Or someone even more dangerous? A chill raced down her spine as the door creaked open, revealing what awaited them on the other side. The door swung wide, and Jenna's breath caught in her throat. A pair of piercing gray eyes locked onto hers, demanding her attention. Her heart drummed against her ribcage, a caged bird fighting for release. This man was not the one from the cafe, but carried an air of authority that sent an icy shiver along her spine. Mason, he stated, his voice smooth as silk, yet edged with steel. The name danced ominously in the air, and Jenna felt a coil of fear tighten around her neck. Mia, let us go, she urged, turning slightly, desperate to pull her friend away from the unfolding scene. But Mia stood frozen, curiosity anchoring her to the spot. Wait! Mia blurted out, her eyes darting between the two of them. Jenna, who is he? Mason took a step forward, and Jenna instinctively shifted back, recalling how the cafe had felt the thrill mingled with danger. I'm not here to hurt you, Jenna, he continued, his voice calm but commanding. "I need to talk to you. It's important." Jenna felt the walls closing in, suffocating her. Important? Was there any real importance when someone ominous was at her door? "What do you want?" she managed, her voice wavering. "A chance to explain," he replied, guilt shadowing his features. "You're in over your head. I know what you heard back at the cafe." "Back off," Jenna spat, glancing at Mia for support. "I don't know you, Mason. I don't want anything from you." "Then you might want to reconsider," he said, pressing forward a little more with each word, his confidence growing. "There are forces at play that you can't begin to understand. If you don't act now, it could cost you everything." A pulse of adrenaline surged through her veins, urging her to slam the door shut. She felt her heart racing, her instincts screaming danger. But something about him sparked her curiosity, a flicker of intrigue that wouldn't allow her to deny the gravity of his words. "Jenna, let us just call the cops," Mia suggested, a grimace on her face. "This feels wrong. We don't know him." Mason lifted his hands in surrender, as if he'd just heard the same old script too many times. "You can call the police," he said, voice softer but still filled with urgency. "But by then, it might be too late. I'm here to help. It's not just about you anymore." "Not just about me?" she echoed, confusion flooding her thoughts. "What do you mean?" The air thickened with tension, wrapping around them like a thick fog. Mason's gaze shifted toward the window, his expression tightening. "They're already watching you. You've heard his name, they know you're involved now. I was sent to warn you. You need to trust me." "Trust you?" Jenna stepped back, her pulse roaring in her ears. "Why the hell would I trust a stranger who knows so much about my life?" "You're in real danger," Mason insisted, stepping into the light. His expression softened, revealing a flicker of humanity. "Just listen for a moment. There are people who want to use you, manipulate you. If we don't act fast, they'll take everything from you. I can help you find a way out." Jenna's heart raced, battling her fight-or-flight response. Was this a ruse? Or was he revealing the edges of a truth she couldn't yet grasp? As she opened her mouth to respond, a noise cut through the air, a sharp crack, like glass shattering, but it came from the back of her house. "Did you hear that?" Mia asked, eyes wide, shifting her stance in preparation to bolt. With instinct kicking in, Jenna turned to Mason, panic flashing across her features. "What was that?" Mason was quick, already assessing the situation, his body tense like a coiled spring. "We don't have much time. They may have found you. We need to move now." Jenna felt the walls of her safe haven crumbling. This wasn't just about her life anymore. The stakes had risen, and she was on the brink of being pulled into a world she didn't understand. She exchanged a frantic look with Mia, whose eyes mirrored her own fear and uncertainty. Should they trust Mason? Could they afford not to? "Let us go," Jenna finally said, her voice steadier than she felt, as she took the first step toward the exit, heart pounding with dread. The moment they set foot into the hallway, a scream echoed from the back of the house. The kind of scream that sent icy fingers of dread creeping up her spine. "Jenna! Mia! Run!" Mason's voice boomed. And with that, they were thrust into chaos, the unknown chasing them like shadows in the dark. Was this the beginning of the end, or an unraveling thread that could lead them to escape? One thing was sure: no matter where they went, they weren't safe yet. Jenna sprinted down the narrow hallway, the air thick with rising terror as Mia followed closely behind. Mason was right beside her, pushing them forward, urgency etched in every line of his face. The crack of glass echoed ominously from the back of the house, and she felt as though the walls were closing in, demanding her to hurry. "Where do we go?" Mia gasped, glancing over her shoulder as if the shadows would come alive. "Through the garage." Mason shouted, leading them to a small side door near the end of the hall. It wasn't a path Jenna would have ever considered before, too mundane, too ordinary. But now, it appeared to be their only hope. As they reached the door, Jenna's heart fell into her stomach. "It's locked!" she exclaimed, pulling on the handle. The metal felt cold and unyielding against her palm, a cruel reminder of her helplessness. Mason's eyes flickered with determination. "Step back." Without hesitation, he hurled himself against the door. The old wood splintered under his weight, and with one final shove, the door burst open. "Go!" Mason yelled, and as they rushed through the opening, Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited them outside would be worse than what they were fleeing. The garage was dark, the smell of oil and dust mixing with adrenaline-fueled panic. Mason flicked on the light, illuminating a narrow space lined with tools and an old, rusted sedan that had seen better days. Jenna choked back a scream as she caught sight of the shattered glass on the ground behind her. "They're coming!" she shouted, her voice trembling. "We need to get out of here," Mason said, already tugging on the sedan's door. It creaked open, the sound a groan of pain that echoed in the stillness. "Get in," he urged, pushing Mia toward the back seat before climbing into the driver's seat himself. Jenna's heart raced as she jumped into the passenger seat, glancing anxiously over her shoulder, half expecting to see a figure creeping in their direction. Mason started the engine, the car sputtering to life. "I'm going to get us out of here," he promised, shifting into gear. But before he could accelerate, another sound pierced the quiet, heavy footsteps, followed by a muffled voice. "Are you sure she came this way?" Jenna's breath caught in her throat. It was too close. They were too close. The fear was palpable, wrapping around her chest like a vice. "We can't stay here," she hissed, her eyes darting around the garage for options. Mason met her gaze, the urgency in his own eyes matching her panic. "We need a distraction," he muttered. "Anything to buy us time." In a moment of sheer desperation, Jenna's fingers brushed against the glove compartment, where she found a dusty old baseball bat. "Here!" she cried, grabbing it and holding it tightly. Mason nodded. "What's your plan?" Gripping the bat, Jenna's mind raced. She felt a rush of courage flooding her veins, and desperation fueled her resolve. "I'll create a diversion. You drive out the back." "What? That's insane. We can't risk you, just do it," she shouted, shaking. "Trust me." With a nod, Mason reluctantly took her word. He edged the car closer to the back exit, eyes fixed on the shadows looming just outside. Jenna took a deep breath. It was now or never. She swung open the door and bolted from the sedan, the bat clutched tightly in her hands. "Hey!" she shouted, her voice echoing against the walls. The footsteps stopped, followed by startled expressions as she gripped the bat like a lifeline. "Over here." Time seemed to freeze as Jenna darted toward the far wall, her heart pounding like a drum. She could hear Mason's engine roaring to life behind her, ready to escape. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, and Jenna's breath caught in her throat. It was the man from the cafe, the one who had set her world on fire, wasn't he it? "Stop!" he shouted, commanding their attention. Jenna's heart raced with confusion and fear. "Don't let him near you!" Mason yelled from the car, but she was already frozen, the past colliding with the present. The man stepped forward, a twisted smile playing on his lips. And she could feel every nerve in her body scream. "Jenna," he drawled, voice smooth and laced with menace. "We need to talk about what's really going on." Jenna was caught between the world she knew and the terrifying reality that lay ahead. The moment was thick with tension, as fate danced on the edge of a knife. Could they really trust Mason or him? And why did she suddenly have the sinking feeling that this was only the calm before a much larger storm? Jenna's body was frozen, caught between fear and a desperate urge to move. The man from the cafe was here, standing less than 10 feet away, and his smile twisted her stomach in knots. "Jenna," he repeated, taking a step closer. "You don't understand, this is all part of a much bigger picture. Stay back." Jenna shouted, raising the baseball bat as if it could ward off his looming presence. Mason's voice shattered through the haze of confusion. "Jenna. Focus. We need to go." His words were urgent, slicing through her paralysis like a knife. But the man's words wrapped around her mind. "You don't know what you're dealing with, Jenna. They're coming for you. Not just for me, but for you." Jenna's pulse thundered in her ears as she glanced back at Mason. He watched her with wild eyes, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. She was torn, the flutter of doubt mixing with urgency. She knew he was dangerous, and yet what if he wasn't lying? "Jenna!" Mason yelled again, a sharp note of desperation in his voice that snapped her back to reality. The moment hung heavy in the air, and Jenna could feel the tension radiating from Mason, palpable and urgent. "Just get in the car," Mason demanded, his eyes darting between her and the man. "Now." In an instant, the weight of her decision crashed over her. She needed to survive. She needed to escape this nightmare. "Okay," she yelled, darting back towards the sedan. But before she could reach the safety of the car, the man lunged forward, blocking her path with an intensity that made her heart drop. "Don't you see?" he breathed, his voice low, almost pleading. "They're not just after you, they're after everyone you care about." "Liar!" Jenna accused, swinging the bat in front of her. The metal barely grazed his arm, but it was enough to create a barrier. A primal fear surged through her as she backed away, her heart racing. The garage's dim light made everything feel eerie. Shadows danced along the walls, and the distant sound of Mason revving the engine seemed to echo her panic. "Jenna, this is bigger than you think." The man pressed, but Jenna was already moving. With every ounce of strength, she dashed toward Mason's car, her mind racing through everything she thought she knew. "Drive!" Jenna shrieked as she flung open the door, but confusion clouded Mason's expression. "Drive right now." At that moment, the world felt as if it had turned inside out. Mason shifted into reverse, barely avoiding the man who reached for the car, his fingers grazing the bumper just as they sped backward. The garage door was too close, the way out a wisp of salvation. Mason tore the wheel, sending them careening toward the exit. "Hold on!" he shouted, slamming the gear into drive just as the garage door creaked open, revealing the dark street outside. Jenna felt her stomach lurch as the car surged forward. The night air rushed in, cold and sharp against her skin. But her heart was still pounding from the encounter, the man's words drifting in and out of her thoughts like haunting whispers. "Where to?" Mason asked, glancing nervously in the rearview mirror, searching for any trace of the man. But there was nothing, only the quiet darkness of the street. "Anywhere but here." Jenna panted, her voice shaky. "Just drive." As they sped away from the house, Jenna felt a sense of unease settle over her. It wasn't just the man, something far more sinister was lurking just beyond the veil of this night. "Mason," she whispered, her breath catching. "You have to tell me everything you know now." As they drove deeper into the blackened night, Jenna realized they were far from safe. Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, promises of things unseen, and the creeping fear that they were not alone. "Get ready," Mason said, his hands gripping the wheel tight. "I have a feeling this is just the beginning." And behind them, the shadow of the man lingered where they once stood, a sinister smile fixed upon the night sky, but what was the truth, and who could they truly trust? Jenna's breath came in frantic bursts as the adrenaline surged through her veins. The car's headlights sliced through the darkness, but every shadow felt alive, dancing on the edges of her vision. She couldn't shake the man's words. "They're coming for you," echoed relentlessly in her mind. The weight of impending dread bore down on her, and she fought to stay grounded. Why was he after you? Mason's voice broke through the silence like glass shattering, sharp and painful. I don't know. Jenna shot back, her voice trembling. He said I was part of something bigger. But how could that be true? Mason's hands tightened their grip on the steering wheel, knuckles going ghostly white. We need to get away from here. There's no telling what he might do if he finds us. Did you see him? He looked like he knew me, like he was waiting for something, Jenna murmured, her mind racing. Memories of the cafe flickered back his smirk, the way he observed her as if she were a puzzle he was eager to solve. Mason flicked his head toward her. He wasn't just waiting, Jenna. He was hunting. You need to get it together. If he knows where you are, then others will too, and it won't end with him. Jenna felt panic knot in her stomach. They were driving into the unknown, and she felt as lost as ever. But Mason, she hesitated. What if we tell someone? The police? What if he's not the only one? Do you really think the police can help? They'll brush it off, or worse, put you in danger. We need to think of our next move, stay one step ahead. Next move? Like where? She could barely keep the tremor out of her voice. Do we just drive forever? We can't stay on the road for long. He furrowed his brow, deep in thought. Maybe we can go to my place. It's far enough out of town, and we can regroup. Jenna nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. What if he knows where you live? Then we have to hope he doesn't, Mason replied, his voice steadying. As they sped farther into the night, Jenna's unease deepened. Suddenly, a headlight's beam pierced through the darkness behind them. Jenna's heart dropped. Mason. I think we're being followed. Mason's expression hardened, determination washing over his face. What? I don't see anyone. No, look. There's a car, coming fast. Jenna's chest tightened. Step on it. Mason slammed his foot down, the engine growling as they surged forward, but the other car seemed relentless, gaining ground with every passing second. Are they just playing with us? Jenna gasped. Or are they actually? Jenna? Focus. Mason shouted, fear creeping into his voice. We need to shake them. He swerved, taking a sharp turn down a winding road that disappeared into the woods. The trees loomed like giants, their branches clawing at the car as if to pull them back into the nightmare they were trying to escape. The other car followed suit, tires screeching against asphalt. Jenna's heart hammered in her chest, terror coursing through her bloodstream. She glanced back, feeling the weight of eyes watching her, ready to pounce. Mason. She barely managed to scream as the world outside blurred into chaos. They're not stopping. A tight curve in the road approached. Mason's hands trembled as he fought to maintain control. Hold on. The car jolted as he swung into the turn, but the tight space sent an icy fear through Jenna. She braced herself for impact, dread pooling in her gut. Just then, a flash of light illuminated the cabin as their headlights flickered between the trees. Mason, what if we shut up? I need to concentrate. He snapped, diverting a surprised glance in her direction. But even in that moment, Jenna caught a glimpse of fear blazing in his eyes, and it made her chill. The chase was on, and as they flew deeper into the unknown, Jenna realized her world had shifted entirely. Each second was heavy, full of dread and uncertainty. What awaited them at the end of the road? And most importantly, who were the people behind them? As they finally broke out of the trees, the moonlight illuminated an abandoned gas station ahead, a glimmer of hope or another trap waiting to ensnare them. Mason had to make a choice, and whatever happened next could change everything. Would they risk it all to stop? Go there. Jenna shouted, her heart pounding, an irresistible urge to confront fate head-on, even as shadows crept closer behind. Would they find sanctuary, or danger? Mason's heart raced as they careened toward the gas station. The sunken roof and shattered windows loomed like the mouth of a beast waiting to swallow them whole. The headlights of their pursuers were mere pinpricks in the distance, but they were closing in fast. "Are you sure?" he yelled over the roar of the engine. "This place could be a trap." "It's better than being out there," Jenna shot back, a wild fear dancing in her eyes. As they hurtled closer, the damp smell of gasoline mixed with old, rusting metal wafted through the cracked windows. Every instinct in her said this was a bad idea, but desperation clawed at her. Mason swerved sharply into the gas station lot, tires screeching against gravel. The headlights dimmed as he slammed the brakes, the car jolting forward before coming to a shuddering stop. They both turned to the shattered entrance, hearts pounding like war drums. Jenna peered into the darkness, trying to make sense of the chaos swirling inside her mind. Could they find something to defend themselves with? Or would it be a dark pit where danger awaited? "Mason, we need to move," she urged, adrenaline flooding her again. Stepping out of the car felt like stepping into a lion's den. The silence enveloped them. No sounds of life, just the haunting creak of rusted metal and the distant buzzing of a flickering neon sign that read "Open." "Stay close," Mason said, his voice steady but low, betraying a hint of fear. They crept toward the entrance, stepping carefully over shattered glass, the crunch of it making Jenna wince. As they entered, the inside was even more desolate than it appeared from outside, shelves with faded labels, empty aisles, and the scent of mildew hanging in the air. "Look for anything useful," Mason whispered, scanning the dark corners. Jenna nodded, urgency propelling her forward. But the deeper they went, the more the atmosphere felt thick, suffocating. Shadows danced along the walls, each flicker igniting her anxiety. "It's too quiet." Suddenly, an engine roared outside. The both of them froze, their hearts skipping a beat. From the cracked windows, they saw headlights piercing the night. "It's them!" Jenna gasped, fear tightening around her throat. "Hide!" Mason hissed, his eyes wide as he scanned the room for cover. Jenna spotted a decrepit storage room, the door hanging askew. They hurled themselves into the darkness, the stale air smothering them as they squeezed into the narrow space. They could hear voices now, low murmurs that escalated into heated conversation. "She has to be here," one voice barked, chilling Jenna to the bone. No one else saw her leave, and the signals went dark. "She can't get far. Check the gas station. Spread out." Another voice replied, a hard edge tinging his words. Jenna clutched Mason's arm, frantically pulling him closer. What did he mean by signals? She whispered, her voice trembling. He shook his head. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it can't be good." The tension simmered between them, the deafening silence outside only amplified by the frantic beating of Jenna's heart. Then, something clattered in the main area, followed by a series of thuds. "Did you hear that?" a voice said, this one coated with a menacing amusement. "She's definitely here." Jenna's breath quickened as the unmistakable sound of footsteps edged closer to their hiding place. "We've got to get out of here," she whispered urgently. "There has to be another way to escape." But before Mason could respond, the door to their storage area creaked open, and the dim light from outside flooded in. "Found you," came the chilling voice, a shadowy figure silhouetted against the light. Jenna's entire world felt like it was collapsing around her. In that moment, she knew they had to face whatever lay ahead or be devoured by the darkness. What had she stumbled into? And would they escape before the hunters found them? The figure standing in the doorway was like a specter from Jenna's worst nightmares. She felt the chill of despair wash over her, gripping tightly to Mason's arm as if he could offer some magical protection against the chaos that loomed. The light fell away, swallowed by the deepening shadows of the storage room. "Mason," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling against the heavy silence. She fought the urge to bolt, knowing that running would only arouse the predator's desire to hunt. "What do we do?" Mason's eyes narrowed, determination igniting in their depths. We fight. We're not going back. Not now. Suddenly, the shadow stepped forward, a man with a smug smirk curling at the edges of his lips. It was the man from the cafe, the one whose presence haunted her thoughts. Didn't he think you could run forever, did you, Jenna? Get away from us. Mason shouted, stepping in front of Jenna protectively. The man chuckled, dark and menacing, as if he reveled in their terror. You're in way over your head, kid. Someone ought to teach you that choices have consequences. But it looks like you don't have to worry about your future anymore. Jenna fumbled for the bat, her breath quick and sharp. This was it. The stakes had never been clearer. Mason. We have to fight. Damn right we do. And as if choreographed by fate itself, Mason lunged forward, tackling the man to the ground. The sudden movement lit flames of chaos, sending debris scattering as the two men struggled on the rusty floor. Jenna's heart raced as she stood frozen, torn between fear and the instinct to intervene. Then, the sound of another set of boots echoed outside the storage room, and panic surged through her. They were out of time. With a shaky grip on the bat, she took a deep breath and swung it down with all her might, aiming for the man's back. The bat connected with a thud, and he shouted, releasing his grip on Mason long enough to make a scrambling retreat. Go! Mason yelled, his voice filled with urgency. Now! Jenna darted forward, tumbling out into the main area of the gas station just as a group of shadowy figures burst through the entrance, their eyes glinting with malicious intent. There she is. Get her. One of them shouted. Run, Jenna. Mason cried, already scrambling to his feet. The two of them bolted past the surprised men, hearts pounding as they rushed for the side exit. As they burst outside, the cool night air hit them like a breath of life, but the threat loomed behind. They're gaining. Mason grunted, leaning against Jenna as they sprinted toward the old sedan. Unlock it. She shouted, fumbling for safety as Mason fished the keys from his pocket, his hands trembling. The engine roared to life just as they climbed inside, and Mason slammed his foot on the gas. The car jolted forward, tires squealing as they tore out of the gas station, leaving the dark menace of their pursuers behind. Breathless and adrenaline-fueled, Jenna glanced back. She could still see the figures gathering, silhouetted against the gas station lights, but they were nothing more than distant shadows now. What the hell was that? Mason shook his head, his expression grave. A warning. They know we're a threat now. We need to decide what our next move is, and quickly. They sped down the dark roads, headlights illuminating the paths ahead. But as they drove deeper into the night, Jenna felt the weight of their reality pressing in on her. Mason, we can't just keep running. We need to fight back. He glanced at her, surprise mingling with admiration. What are you suggesting? She took a deep breath, sparks of determination flickering inside her. We need to find out who these people are, why they want me. If that man was telling the truth, then maybe we can turn the tides. Mason nodded slowly, his respect for her hardening into resolve. All right. But to face them, we'll need more than just our instincts. We need a plan. Forming a plan felt like descending into a dark abyss. Jenna knew what they were up against now, and it was a fight for survival. We find out everything we can about these people. Who are they? What are they after? As dawn's first light began to illuminate the horizon, Jenna's fingers tingled with the promise of a new day. Despite the uncertainty, despite the fear that clung to her like a second skin, she was ready to step into the light. Then let us get to work, Mason said, his fierce determination reflecting in his eyes. With a shared glance of understanding, they transformed fear into purpose. Whatever shadows lay ahead, they would shine through, together. And as the sun rose higher, the first real light of hope breaking through the turmoil, both Jenna and Mason felt an echo of strength settle in. They may be running from a dangerous past, but they weren't just victims anymore this time, they were in control. "Let us uncover the truth," Jenna said, guilt and uncertainty about her choices fading into a fierce flame of resolve. They sped off, ready to face whatever came next. The world felt alive outside, vibrant and promising as they chased the dawn, energized by the hope of victory behind every twist and turn. Now here's the part where you become a part of this journey. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next thrilling chapter of Jenna and Mason's story. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep these incredible stories rolling. And we want your thoughts. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about what happens next. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic conclusion. Only true fans know how important it is to support the channel. We appreciate you.